On May 17, 2025, the unthinkable happened in New York City. As night fell over the East River, one of the world's most recognizable landmarks, the Brooklyn Bridge, was struck by a towering Mexican Navy vessel. What followed was a harrowing tale of mechanical failure, tragic loss of life, and international response. This is the story of the ARM Cuauhtémoc and the night it collided with history. The ARM Cuauhtémoc, named after the last Aztec emperor, is more than just a ship. She's a symbol of pride for the Mexican Navy and a floating classroom for cadets preparing to defend their nation's waters. Built in 1982 in Bilbao, Spain, and commissioned the same year, this majestic tall ship spans over 270 feet long with masts reaching as high as 130 feet into the sky. She regularly sails to international ports as a gesture of goodwill and training. Her 2025 voyage was no different, an annual transatlantic expedition carrying nearly 300 individuals, cadets, officers, and crew. Their mission? To conclude months of naval training with a symbolic journey through foreign waters, demonstrating skill, discipline, and diplomatic outreach. New York City was one of the Cuauhtémoc's planned ports. She docked peacefully at Pier 17, near the South Street seaport, drawing crowds eager to see the tall ship in person. Tourists and residents alike admired her white hull and proud sails. On the evening of May 17, the Cuauhtémoc began her departure from the pier, scheduled to pass under the Brooklyn Bridge as she headed out into open water. Weather conditions were calm. However, eyewitnesses soon reported something was wrong. At approximately 8:26 p.m., as the Cuauhtémoc neared the bridge, the vessel lost power. Reports confirmed that both the main engine and auxiliary controls failed almost simultaneously. The ship began drifting, slowly at first, then with the increasing push of the East River current, she became unmanageable. Despite the desperate efforts of the crew, the tall ship's three soaring masts struck the underside of the Brooklyn Bridge. The collision was violent. Metal crumpled. Rigging snapped. The masts sheared off, crashing onto the deck and into the river. Chaos broke out on board. Amid the wreckage, 2 lives were tragically lost. Cadet America Yomile Sanchez, just 20 years old and from Veracruz, suffered fatal injuries when one of the collapsing masts struck her on deck. Not long after, sailor Adel Joey Maldonado Marcos, age 23, from San Mateo del Mar in Oaxaca, was found pinned beneath a section of rigging. Both died before they could be transported to nearby hospitals. 22 others were injured in the disaster, 2 of them critically. Emergency responders from the NYPD, FDNY, and U.S. Coast Guard were on the scene within minutes, tending to the wounded and evacuating the remaining crew. The Brooklyn Bridge was closed immediately. Officials feared that the iconic structure, completed in 1883, may have sustained serious damage. Initial assessments from engineers revealed that the bridge's structure had escaped major damage, though it remained closed for inspections overnight. The Cuauhtémoc, however, was not as fortunate. She was towed to Pier 36, her rigging shredded and masts ruined. The U.S. Coast Guard and the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, quickly launched a joint investigation. Early findings indicated a mechanical failure in the ship's generator and electrical systems may have contributed to the power loss. There was no indication of foul play or negligence at that stage. The Mexican Navy also began an internal inquiry, dispatching representatives to New York to coordinate with local and federal authorities. Mexico mourned. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador extended condolences to the families of the deceased, calling them patriots who died in service. Public ceremonies were held at Mexican naval bases, and flags were flown at half-mast across the country. In New York, tributes were placed at the South Street seaport. Flowers, notes, and candles lined the edge of Pier 17. The United States extended its support to the Mexican government, offering resources and assistance in the investigation and repair of the Cuauhtémoc. The 2025 Brooklyn Bridge collision was not just a maritime accident, it was a moment that reminded the world of the risks inherent in even the most routine naval operations. For the Mexican Navy, it meant a painful loss of 2 young lives, a ship out of commission, and tough questions about systems and preparedness. For New York, it was a close call, a stark reminder of how even century-old infrastructure faces new, modern-day challenges. As of today, the Cuauhtémoc remains docked for repairs, and her next journey is uncertain. But what is certain is that Cadet Sanchez and Sailor Maldonado will be remembered for their service, and for the sacrifice they made while serving on one of their nation's most beloved ships. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to learn more about international naval missions, maritime disasters, or the legacy of ships like the Cuauhtémoc, subscribe to Deep Divers for more deep dives into stories that shape our world.